Tattoo artists. What was the most uncomfortable tattoo you've done on a client? A weird old man started coming to the tattoo shop where I work. He made most of the artists uncomfortable. Out of the 7 of us, only one artist could stand tattooing him. The man came in a lot, sometimes many days in a row. Normally we say not to get tattoos so often, but with him we said, fuck it, go ahead. One time he got a tattoo of a big truck that said kicking ass and eating pussy on the back window. A few days later, his new tattoo said alone and beating it. It was funny because the tattoos had opposite meanings. He didn't realize the irony. Now, when someone I know is going through some shit, I joke, sometimes you're kicking ass and eating pussy. Other times you're alone and beating it. Story 2. The weird part happened after I finished the tattoo. When the client went to pay, I reached for the money. He said, "You like that money, baby?" It was so awkward. I'm usually quick to think of funny things to say back, but this time I just stared at him until he left. Another uncomfortable tattoo was this woman who moaned really loud the whole time. She said it helped with the pain, but I'm not so sure since I was tattooing near her private parts. Also, the other tattoo artists told me about a handsy lady they had to deal with. She would reach into their shorts while getting tattooed. Some of them liked it, some didn't. She was really aggressive too, and she would yell for God to help her every time she got a tattoo. The rewritten version uses simple words and short sentences while keeping all the mature details. The key awkward and uncomfortable moments are described directly. The first-person perspective is maintained, making you feel like you're hearing tattoo shop stories straight from the artist. Story 3. My wife's friend does tattoos for a living. She told us about a young woman who came in one time. The woman wanted the name Johnny tattooed on her chest. She said it was because she loved her boyfriend so much. Right when she finished the tattoo, the boyfriend showed up at the shop. The woman was excited to show him the tattoo, but they ended up getting in a big fight instead. He dumped her right there in the tattoo shop. A few months later, the same woman came back. This time she had a different guy with her. She wanted to get another tattoo. She said to the tattoo artist, "This is my new boyfriend. His name is Johnny too." Story 4. I'm not a tattoo artist, but I have a lot of tattoos myself. I once dated a girl who had numbers tattooed on her wrist. At first I thought maybe she had been in a concentration camp a long time ago, but that wasn't very likely since she was young. So I asked her what the tattoo meant. She said it was her social security number. I was surprised. She told me her mom made her and her brother get those tattoos. Her mom said it was in case they find your body with the head cut off and they need to identify you. Yeah, her family was pretty messed up. The tattoo was also really sloppy looking, kind of like a prison tattoo. It definitely wasn't done at a professional tattoo shop. Before delving into the next regrettable recap, please remember to like and subscribe if you'd like us to create more of this content. Thank you. Story 5. One time when I was getting a tattoo, a guy came into the shop. He wanted to get a really weird tattoo. He asked for a picture of a diver swimming out of his butthole. I was lying down getting my own tattoo. So luckily I had a reason not to look at the guy's tattoo while it was happening. But I could tell it made the tattoo artist really uncomfortable. I mean, I don't blame them. Story 5. One time when I was getting a tattoo, a guy came into the shop. He wanted to get a really weird tattoo. He asked for a picture of a diver swimming out of his butthole. I was lying down getting my own tattoo. So luckily I had a reason not to look at the guy's tattoo while it was happening. But I could tell it made the tattoo artist really uncomfortable. I mean, I don't blame them. Story 6. I'm a tattoo artist. Not long ago, a man came into my shop. He asked if I could cover up a name tattoo he had right above his private parts. The man showed me a drawing he made himself. It was a tribal dragon design. I had to tell him his drawing wouldn't work well for that spot or as a cover-up tattoo. After I said that, the man replied, "I guess putting my daughter's name there wasn't a good idea, huh?" There were a few really awkward moments of silence. Then he just left the shop. I didn't end up doing the cover-up tattoo for him. I haven't seen him come back since then either. Story 7. A science lab called me one time. They asked if I could tattoo 3 hamsters that looked exactly the same. They wanted me to give the hamsters little symbols so they could tell them apart. I wasn't sure if it was a prank call or a real request. We only talked on the phone, so it was hard to know for sure. Over the years, I've tattooed some really weird people. One guy kept getting the exact same tattoo of a tiger head over and over. Eventually, he had me fill in little dots all around the tiger heads. Another strange guy had me tattoo straight lines up and down on different parts of his body. He thought it would make him look bigger and stronger. That guy also told me about his plan to get extra teeth put in his mouth. He said it was so he could chew and digest food better. Story 8. My friend is a tattoo artist. One day she sent me a message saying she had just tattooed a penis. I had so many questions. She told me the whole story. The guy getting the tattoo got a bit hard when she put the stencil on, but as soon as the needle touched his penis, it went totally soft. She had to stretch it out with one hand while she tattooed with the other. I finally asked what tattoo he got on his penis. She said it was Thor's hammer. I laughed so hard. At least he picked something funny. My co-worker's brother-in-law also has a penis tattoo. When his penis is soft, you can't really see it. But when he gets hard, it says ta-da, like a magic trick. I guess the lesson is, if you're going to get a tattoo on your dick, make sure it's funny. Story 9, I went to a tattoo shop to teach the staff about human trafficking. The owner was very open to learning. I showed him the tattoos that human traffickers in our area used to mark their victims. As I explained, the owner started to look very upset. He called over his other tattoo artists. It turned out they had tattooed dozens of people with one of these human trafficking symbols. They thought it was just a popular tattoo design. I asked if any of the women with these tattoos had come in alone to get them. The owner turned very pale. He started to cry. He realized he had been tattooing slaves without knowing it. Story 10. I worked in a tattoo shop for a long time. We all like to joke around, but one customer really cracked us up. An older gay man came in and got a giant violin tattoo on his back. It went all the way from his butt crack to the back of his neck. Of course, we asked him why he picked that design. He told us, "My partner plays the violin. He wanted to be able to play me from behind." We were all like, "Oh, okay then." When it was time to tattoo the lower part near his butt, the man stood up. That's when we saw he was wearing tearaway pants. He ripped them off and sat back down completely naked for the rest of the tattoo. The artist tattooing him looked really uncomfortable, but the rest of us were laughing so hard we almost died. It was a great day at work. Sometimes I miss that job. Story 11. This didn't happen to me, but to my tattoo artist. When I got my first tattoo, I asked him the same question about his most uncomfortable tattoo. He said a stripper came in one time. She wanted a star tattooed right on her butthole. She also wanted cursive writing that said, "I'm a star." So the stripper was laying face down on the table with her butt in the air. She was holding her butt cheeks apart so he could tattoo her butthole. Right in the middle of the tattoo, the artist's wife and 7-year-old son surprised him. They brought him lunch at work. The stripper just stayed in position with her butt up. The artist said the stripper and his wife were both totally chill about it, like it was no big deal. But he felt really weird. He didn't like having to explain to his little kid why daddy was putting his art on her butt. Story 12. After I finished high school, I worked at my friend's tattoo shop. One day, a gay couple came in. One of the guys said he wanted a dartboard tattooed on his butt. I thought that was a little weird, but whatever. I wasn't the one doing the tattoo, my friend was. But then the guy said he wanted the dartboard to be regulation size. That means the official measurements for a real dartboard. It took me a second to realize what he meant. Then it hit me. No way. This dude wanted a full-size dartboard covering his entire ass, and he wanted the bullseye to be right on his butthole. And you know what? He actually went through with it. He got a giant dartboard tattooed on his butt with his butthole as the center. Story 13. A couple who are meth addicts came into the tattoo shop. The woman put on lipstick and kissed a piece of paper. Her boyfriend said he wanted her lipstick kiss print tattooed on his butt. Then the guy put on her lipstick himself. He kissed the same paper. Now the woman wanted his lipstick kiss tattooed on her butt too. My boss told me to do the tattoos for them. I got everything ready, but then I just couldn't go through with it. The couple both looked really gross and unhealthy, like their skin was covered in meth sores. Even with gloves, a mask, and cleaning supplies, I was too scared of catching some kind of disease from them. Story 14. One time when I was getting a tattoo, a really weird guy walked in. We could all tell something wasn't right about him. He said he wanted a Japanese symbol tattooed on his forehead. The tattoo artist who owned the shop asked if the guy had any other tattoos. The guy said no. The owner told him he wouldn't do a face tattoo on someone who didn't have any other tattoos. The guy just stared at all of us for a full 2 minutes without saying anything. He had big, wide eyes, like we had just told him the craziest thing he ever heard. Then the artist said, "Sorry, man, I'll tattoo that symbol anywhere else on your body, but I won't put it on your face if you don't have any other tattoos." The guy kept staring at us with his eyes bugging out. He said, okay. Then he slowly turned around and walked out. We were scared he might come back later and try to hurt us for saying no to the tattoo. Story 15. I'm not a tattoo artist, but I worked at the front desk of a popular local tattoo shop for 6 years. I'm a friendly, talkative person, so I enjoyed chatting with customers while they waited. One day, a woman in her late 40s came in. She was dressed conservatively in a work skirt and blazer. I had her sign the form agreeing to get a tattoo. When I asked what she was getting, she just said, "Oh, some words on my lower back." I said that was cool and brought her to the room where the artist was working. I could hear the woman and the artist deciding where to put the tattoo. She wanted it low enough that her daughter wouldn't see it, since it was private. So they put it right above her butt crack. I thought, okay, that makes sense. After the tattoo was done, I asked the artist what words she got. It turns out the woman had anal slut tattooed in big black letters. No wonder she didn't want her daughter to see it. A few months later, she came back to get woo whore tattooed on the front of her body. Story 16. This girl had a tattoo right above her private parts that said something like John's treasure box. John was the name of her ex-boyfriend. Later, she got married to a different man and they had a baby together. When the baby was born, the doctor looked at the tattoo and said to her husband, "Congratulations, John, it's a boy." The husband got really mad that the doctor called him John. He stormed out of the room. The woman had to explain to the doctor that John was actually her ex-boyfriend. She said the tattoo still caused problems with her husband. Story 17. Real gang members usually have their own tattoo artists. They don't go to regular tattoo shops on the street. I tattooed in Oakland for a long time. I would do tattoos like 40th Ave or whatever street people were from. But I never did any serious gang tattoos. I turned down a couple requests for swastika tattoos, but not many people asked for those. One time I tattooed "party hard" on a frat guy's butt while his friends cheered. Doing butt tattoos on guys was pretty much the worst. I never tattooed anyone's penis. I always said it would cost a lot and nobody ever wanted to pay that much. Like other tattoo artists have said, most tattoos are pretty boring and normal. One time, someone asked me to tattoo a dead person who supposedly wanted a tattoo before they died. I said no because the person couldn't give permission anymore. Story 18. I'm not a tattoo artist, but I dated one for a little while. He had some stories about customers who made him uncomfortable. The one I remember most was about an old lady dominatrix. She came into his tattoo shop and told him what she wanted. It was a tattoo of a sexy woman holding a spanking paddle. The woman was in one of those crazy poses you see on romance novel covers, where it doesn't even look possible in real life. She wanted the tattoo to be really big and on her back. The whole time he was tattooing her, the old lady talked non-stop. She told him about all the sex dungeons she went to. She kept saying how much she loved to hurt young men and how cute he was. She even told him he should come visit her sometime. He was trying to be polite, but also give her a hint to be quiet. He said things like, "That's nice, but I can tattoo better when there isn't talking." Story 19. I'm not proud of this, but I used to work next to a strip club. One of the strippers wanted me to tattoo zebra stripes inside her private parts. Not just on the outside, she wanted the tattoo on the inner skin. I kept telling her over and over that it was a bad idea. The skin there isn't meant to be tattooed. I said it wouldn't look good at all, and the tattoo would fade really fast. Plus, it would hurt more than anything she ever felt. But every time I said no, she offered more and more money. Eventually, I just gave in and said I'd do it. So I basically ruined this stripper's private area with zebra stripes. I would have felt weird about the whole thing, but I've tattooed a lot of male private parts in my career, so I'm kind of used to it. Thanks for listening to these regrettable recaps. Please like and subscribe if you'd like more of this content in the future. Now it's time for Today I Effed Up Stories. Story 1. Today I effed up by removing my girlfriend's tattoos in Photoshop and realizing I'm not as attracted to her as I thought. My girlfriend and I often exchange intimate photos, which we keep private. As a hobby, I enjoy editing photos using image editing software. Recently, I bought a new laptop and installed the software. I decided to try some tutorials on removing tattoos from photos while under the influence of marijuana. My girlfriend has several tattoos, including a large one on her upper chest, 2 on her hips, 1 between her shoulder blades, and various smaller ones on her legs and arms. She had most of these when we met, and she has added 2 more since we've been together. I never thought her tattoos bothered me and even considered them cool. However, I hadn't really imagined being with someone who had so many tattoos before meeting her. I edited 3 photos, removing all of her tattoos. The results were impressive, but they also stirred unexpected feelings in me. I realized I found her much more attractive without the tattoos, which troubled me greatly. I regret this experiment because I know my girlfriend can't and wouldn't want to remove her tattoos. They're expensive to remove, and she loves them. Moreover, she is a tattoo artist herself and is planning to get a large tattoo covering half of her body in a couple of months. She's very excited about this, and I don't want to discourage her. Now I've realized I don't actually like tattoos on her. Looking back, there were signs I had overlooked. For example, I had asked her not to tattoo her stomach too soon because I liked how it looked unmarked. When she joked about being covered in tattoos in a few years, I always laughed it off, not wanting to think about it. I also realized I've been enjoying certain intimate positions more because they hide her tattoos. I'm worried about the future. Her upcoming tattoo will cover areas of her body I currently find most attractive. I'm ashamed to admit I'm concerned I won't be as attracted to her after she gets it. I'm afraid to bring this up because she has body image issues, and I don't want to hurt her feelings. I also know she's likely to get more tattoos in the future given her profession. I deleted the edited photos this morning. While they were physically appealing, they left me feeling morally conflicted and worried about our relationship's future. Story 2. Today I effed up by accidentally getting a tattoo that was dedicated to sexual race play stuff. I recently made an embarrassing mistake when getting a new tattoo. I got a small heart with a Q above it, intending it to represent Queen of Hearts. I chose this design because I met my boyfriend at a casino, and we both enjoy playing card games. The idea was that I would be the Queen of his heart, and he planned to get a matching King of Hearts tattoo. However, I soon discovered that this tattoo has a very different meaning than I intended. While showing it to a friend who is gay and Asian, I am a straight Asian woman, he surprised me by commenting, "Wow, I didn't know you were into that stuff." Confused, I asked him what he meant. He explained that my tattoo is actually associated with a type of sexual roleplay involving racial themes, particularly popular among some Asian individuals and couples. This roleplay often involves scenarios with white men dominating non-white partners. My friend showed me evidence of this on Urban Dictionary and in online forums, which was quite shocking to discover. Now I feel extremely embarrassed about my tattoo, especially when I'm in public. I worry that others might misinterpret its meaning and think I'm involved in these practices, which I'm not. Fortunately, the tattoo is in a location that's relatively easy to conceal, but I'm still very concerned about potential misunderstandings. My boyfriend, who is white, was also unaware of this alternative meaning. The tattoo was entirely my idea, and neither of us had any knowledge of its unintended implications. Story 3. Today I effed up by getting an unintentionally racist tattoo. A few years ago, my wife and I attended the Philadelphia Tattoo Convention. We enjoy these events as they're great opportunities to meet tattoo artists from around the world and see their work in person. Usually we both get tattoos at these conventions, but this time only my wife had a booking for an all-day session. After about 2 hours of waiting, I became bored and decided to walk around. I spontaneously decided to get a tattoo and found an available artist named Jason from Pittsburgh. I told my wife via text which booth I was at, and she said she'd come by during her break in about 2 hours. I told Jason I wanted a portrait of my dog, Cujo, with a rising sun in the background. I thought this would be fitting because I believed Cujo was a Japanese breed. Jason sketched the design, which I approved without changes, and he began the tattoo. About an hour later, as Jason was finishing, my wife approached. Her smile quickly turned to confusion when she saw the tattoo. She asked what I was getting, and I explained it was for Cujo. She then questioned the rising sun background. I felt momentarily proud, thinking I could educate her on something for once. However, before I could speak, she said, "Cujo's Chinese." Confused, I asked what she meant. She explained, "He's a Pekingese, like from Peking, China. You thought he was Japanese, didn't you?" Realizing my mistake, all I could say was, "Oh no." Even the artist looked uncomfortable. I had unintentionally created a culturally insensitive tattoo due to my misunderstanding of Cujo's breed origin. Despite this mistake, I've decided to keep the tattoo as is. I now view it as a tribute to well-meaning but sometimes misguided individuals like myself who act first and think later. Story 4. Today I effed up by unwittingly getting a tattoo dedicated to weird sex stuff. Last month I made an unfortunate mistake when getting a new tattoo. I'm a woman who enjoys playing poker, so I decided to get a black spade tattoo on my wrist as a symbol of my love for the game. However, I soon discovered that this tattoo has a very different meaning than I intended. While out to dinner with a male friend, he asked if I knew what the symbol meant. He then showed me images of older women with similar spade tattoos, explaining that it symbolizes an interest in certain adult activities involving interracial relationships and swinging lifestyles. At first, I tried to convince myself that this was an obscure meaning that only my friend knew about due to his interests. Unfortunately, I later learned at a child's birthday party, of all places, from my brother and his friend, that this symbol is widely recognized among heterosexual men as having this alternative meaning. This revelation has made me very self-conscious. Although I'm not white, I might be perceived as such by some people, which adds another layer of complexity to the situation. I want to clarify that I've dated people of various ethnicities, but it's embarrassing to unknowingly have a symbol associated with a popular adult entertainment genre on my wrist. I worry that men I interact with might misinterpret its meaning. To address this issue, I'm planning to add the other card suit symbols to the tattoo to clarify its intended meaning. However, I've learned an important lesson about thoroughly researching symbols before getting them permanently inked on my body. I hope others can learn from my mistake and avoid similar situations. Story 5. Today I effed up by getting matching lobster tattoos with my BF after watching Friends. This happened a few months ago, but I just found out how bad it was today. My boyfriend and I are huge fans of Friends, and we decided to binge watch the whole series during quarantine. We got to the episode where Phoebe tells Ross that Rachel is his lobster because lobsters mate for life, and we thought it was the cutest thing ever. We had been dating for 2 years and were thinking of taking our relationship to the next level. So we thought, why not get matching lobster tattoos to show our love and commitment? We found a tattoo parlor that was open and had good reviews, and we booked an appointment. We chose a simple design of 2 lobsters holding claws and got them inked on our ankles. It hurt like hell, but we were so happy and proud of our tattoos. We took pictures and posted them on Instagram and got a lot of likes and comments from our friends and family. Everyone thought it was adorable and romantic. Fast forward to today. I was browsing Reddit and came across a post on Ask Reddit that asked, what is something that everyone thinks is true but is actually false? I clicked on it out of curiosity and saw a comment that said, lobsters don't mate for life. They're actually very promiscuous and will mate with different partners every mating season. I was shocked and confused. I googled it and sure enough, it was true. Lobsters are not monogamous at all. They're basically the opposite of what Phoebe said. I felt like an idiot. I had just permanently marked myself with a symbol of something that was completely false. I called my boyfriend and told him the bad news. He seemed to be equally stunned and embarrassed. We both regretted our decision and wished we had done more research before getting the tattoos. Now we're stuck with these stupid lobsters that mean nothing to us. Story 6. Today I effed up by accidentally revealing my tattoo to my mum. I'm a 19-year-old female and my parents are Chinese. Like most Asian parents, they don't really want their kids getting tattoos of any kind. I got my first tattoo literally a week ago. It's pretty small and on my back near my shoulder, so it wouldn't be seen if I'm wearing literally anything. Well, today I totally forgot about it. My mum went shopping and bought me a shirt and told me to try it on. Because we always do this and I had a crop top on underneath my jumper, I totally forgot about my tattoo and got changed in front of her. She was like, "What is that on your back?" She initially thought it was like a fake temporary tattoo, but I thought since she already saw it, I better tell her it's real. She freaked out a bit and called my dad instantly. She was pretty shocked and disappointed for a second, but she wasn't too angry and it turned into a bit of a joke between us that I'm so stupid. However, I'm actually so angry at myself that I couldn't even keep it hidden for a week. Story 7. Today I effed up by giving an alternative meaning to a previously suicidal girl's tattoo. I was out on a date with a girl and things were going well despite me being a nervous wreck. We got to talking and she admitted she had depression and at one point was even suicidal, but was proud of herself for getting past that chapter of her life. She then showed me her semicolon tattoo on her wrist and explained its significance, that it means the sentence could have ended there, but the author decided to add more. It was all very sweet and heartfelt. Now, I in no way have any issues with mental illness and still feel super guilty about this to this day. But with my perpetual foot in mouth syndrome, I said, in programming, it means end. She didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. Suffice to say, I never got a second date. Story 8. Today, I effed up by talking about my tattoo to a Japanese tourist. This happened tonight while I was out having a beer with a friend from work. I live on Guam and we get a ton of Japanese tourists through here. It's like Japan's version of Mexico. Today was especially hot, about 93 degrees Fahrenheit, so I was wearing a tank top shirt that exposed a tattoo on my left arm. In walked a Japanese couple, obviously on vacation. The man spoke pretty good English and decided the bar was a perfect place to practice his English, so he asked me, "What does the tattoo on your arm mean?" I told him, "Oh, this. My grandpa worked on the flight crew for a B-17 bomber in World War II. This is the pin-up from his bomber jacket." After it came out of my mouth, I saw the look on the guy's face. I don't know the word for the emotion his face showed. I realized what I'd said. He just exchanged a few words with his female companion, and they both walked out of the bar into the night. Guys, I have never felt so bad for something I've said in my life. Story 9. Today I effed up by translating a lesbian's tattoo. Several years ago, my wife and I were visiting a friend and her girlfriend for the weekend. On Saturday night, they threw a party with all of their friends, most of whom were also lesbian couples. I saw that one girl had Chinese characters tattooed on her forearms, so I asked to see them, as I had recently been living in China. She said, "Oh, they're actually Japanese characters. This one, Mo, means man, and this one, Nu, means woman." Basically, I'm trying to describe how all of us exist on a gender continuum between the two and integrate parts of both into our identities to different degrees. I responded, "Actually, Japanese characters, kanji, and Chinese characters, hanzi, are really the same thing. And I don't think that one, Mo, means man. It actually means 10,000. The correct character for man is Nan, Mo, and Nan aren't that far off, but the calligraphic style on it would make it hard to replace." I looked up and this poor girl was literally in tears. The entire party had come to a standstill as I pompously embarrassed this kid in front of all her friends. She'd had the tattoo done 2 or 3 years earlier and no one had ever caught it. I had to add, on the bright side, Chinese doesn't really have a plural, so Monu is a perfectly grammatical way of saying 10,000 women. Make it a life goal. Crickets. Story 10. Today I effed up by showing my tattoo artist my genitals. This didn't happen today, but about 14 years ago. I was getting a tattoo on the side of my calf, so I decided to put on a pair of old cut-off jeans I had. I used to wear these to gigs, parties, and sessions. Over time, I had chopped off the calves because they became frayed, patched the pockets back on, and most importantly, worn out the entire inner crotch area of the jeans, leaving a double fist size hole. I always wear underwear, so I didn't care too much. I put on my boxers, shorts, and went out to the shop to get this tattoo. I was lying on my left side, both my legs in a sort of fetal position, while he tattooed the side of my right calf. It took a few hours, and the room we were in was sweaty as hell and really warm. He was talking to me about how he was pissed off that he got a hot rock burn, hash burn, on his new jacket. So I said, "Think that's bad? Check this out," and opened my legs to show him my crotch hole. Turns out my underwear was riding up, and my entire genitals were just on show. He giggled, and so did I. I don't know if he was impressed or if I should be ashamed. I never went back there again. Story 11. Today I effed up by falling asleep at a beautician in Vietnam and waking up with tattooed eyebrows. I'm a guy. My eyebrows are pretty thick and very long. My ex used to clean the edges to give them a nice form. Last week I realised they were getting messy again. I decided to look online and book an appointment at the best beautician in the city. The waxing was only $14, which seemed cheap for such a fancy looking place. The place was fully booked last week and their first opening was this morning, so I booked it. Fast forward to last night. I got home at 4 o'clock in the morning because I was watching the England versus Colombia game with my colleagues, which started at 1 o'clock in the morning. My alarm woke me up at 8 o'clock to remind me about my 8:30 appointment at the beautician. I almost cancelled, but didn't want to reschedule, knowing it would probably be a whole week before getting another appointment. Despite being exhausted, I went there. The welcome was great with lovely smiles and a welcome drink. Everything was surprisingly fancy. Their English was about as limited as my Vietnamese. I opened Google Translate and typed "whatever you want." My logic was that they definitely knew what they were doing, and since it was a fancy place, they must have good staff. I thought that worst case scenario, even if I didn't like the shape, my eyebrows would return to their original form in a month or so. I was very wrong. They handed me a long form in Vietnamese with bullet points and yes/no checkboxes. The only word I could read was HIV, and after translating the first item, which said diabetes, I just marked no for everything. It seemed strange for a beautician to ask all these questions, but I didn't think much about it. They laid me down on a comfortable bed, and while they discussed their plans with each other, I fell asleep. I woke up in pain from something scratching my eyebrow. The first thing I heard was, "Close your eyes." So I did. But the scratching got worse. It didn't feel like waxing or the pencil I'd seen them holding earlier. After a minute or two, I stopped them and stood up. I saw her holding a weird pen-shaped device and asked for a mirror. They had decided to give me what they considered the perfect eyebrows for my face. Although my eyebrows were thick, their design was even thicker. I stopped them from continuing, but now I have a very clear shade of black around my eyebrows and very black colouring inside them. When I first asked, they said the tattoos would last for 2 years. Near the end, they told me that if I washed them every day, most of the colour would be gone in 5 days. That's where things stand for now, and I will keep everyone updated. Story 12. Today, I effed up by doing anything I want with my friend if I won a game of Mario Kart against her. My friend and I enjoyed playing video games together, but she would occasionally suggest making things more interesting by raising the stakes. Her proposal was that if she won a game of Mario Kart against me, she could do anything she wanted with me. And if I won, I could do anything I wanted with her. She had no idea how skilled I was at Mario Kart. My first couple of victories resulted in harmless demands like making her talk like Wario for the next race or letting me borrow her DVDs, which I found wildly amusing and diabolical to request. I kept winning, and being the foolish person I was, I thought I was simply on a lucky streak getting all this free stuff from her. I acted like a pompous court jester celebrating across the courtyard. She would occasionally make the same offer again, and I would keep winning while she made her frustration with losing the Mario Kart races quite clear. My bragging about victories within our circle of friends, complete with invisible trophies and imaginary champagne spraying, certainly didn't help the situation. It wasn't until we were older and had grown apart that she revealed she had been upset about the whole thing. She had practiced playing Mario Kart for hours before racing against me in hopes of winning because she found me handsome and didn't know how to express her attraction. The entire time she had been hoping I would ask for a kiss whenever I won, but being the clueless person I was, I kept asking to borrow her Linkin Park albums and requesting drawings of muscular kittens with sleeve tattoos. Not only did I miss my chance with my friend, but I also broke her heart every time I would snatch victory from her on the final lap by performing miraculous last-second overtake maneuvers, or laughing like a cartoon villain when the spiky blue shell of doom would destroy her dreams. Story 13. Today I effed up by getting my first tattoo. This happened last year. My brothers and I decided to get tattoos in memory of our late grandfather. He was a great man and an even better businessman. His most memorable venture was his bow tie company, so we each picked one bow tie from his private collection to get tattooed. I had to work the morning of our tattoo appointments, so both of my brothers went first. This is where everything went wrong. Work was busy that day and I had not eaten anything. To calm my nerves, I thought it would be a good idea to smoke a marijuana cigarette on the way to the tattoo parlor. Everything started out fine until I began feeling dizzy. The tattoo artist went to fetch me some candy, and when he returned, I had passed out and fallen face first onto the floor. However, that was not even the worst part. After recovering, I walked outside for some fresh air and noticed something extra in my pants. Yes, you guessed it. I had soiled myself after passing out. I frantically rushed to the bathroom, removed my underwear, threw them away, and used all available supplies to clean myself up. It took me an entire year to return and finish the tattoo. I even included a small number 2 to commemorate that it took 2 attempts to get my first ever tattoo. Story 14. Today I effed up by cheating with my co-worker and planning to run away together. I work in international live events that take several weeks to complete. I typically coordinate them and work with a team to install and operate the equipment. Though I am close with my co-workers, we live across the world and fly in for each event. I had met most of my co-workers in person, but for this event, we had someone new working on sound named Clint. I'd only seen him in video conference calls before we met in person. This event was significant for the company, featuring a big headliner and important partners with substantial money involved. After I arrived at the installation and met Clint, we began working. One by one, my co-workers were sent to other events. Clint and I were left to finish everything, but bad weather and major disappointments from one of our vendors put us in a difficult situation. We began working 15 to 20-hour days to meet our deadline. After these long days, Clint and I would spend time together smoking cannabis, which was legal in the area. We discovered we had much in common and developed a unique connection. We were both in unhappy marriages. His wife had numerous medical problems, was constantly spending money, and seemed perpetually enrolled in school. My husband had become an angry person, accumulated significant debt, and had stopped investing in our relationship. Our relationship started platonically, but the mounting stress created sexual tension between us. The sleep deprivation, stress, and my reduced tolerance for cannabis led me to question everything about my life. We felt like extensions of each other, like kindred spirits. Gradually, Clint began making romantic advances, and our dinners evolved into dates as we spent time in each other's hotel rooms. We crossed many boundaries, but just before crossing the final line, my judgment returned, and we decided to resolve our personal lives before proceeding further. During the final days of the event, Clint and I remained close. We made plans to leave our spouses, sell our houses, and travel together. We created a list of destinations to visit and experiences to share, even discussing building a small cabin together. Clint planned to get a tattoo dedicated to me upon returning home. When the event ended, we maintained virtual contact, exchanging inappropriate messages and behaving unprofessionally. We agreed not to tell our partners about our relationship due to their mental health issues, but we planned to divorce and begin new lives. After returning home, I asked my husband for a divorce, explaining my desire to move away and start fresh. Clint spoke with his wife, but his situation was more complicated. His wife was unstable, and her family made it difficult for him to leave. Eventually, I noticed Clint becoming distant. Though still sexually interested, he became emotionally unavailable. The tattoos he shared photos of were entirely different from what he had described to me. Despite my growing concerns, I continued planning my escape and our future together. Clint attended several anniversary celebrations with his wife and began ignoring my messages. After weeks of confusing signals and my repeated questions, Clint finally expressed his doubts. During a work video chat, he told me he felt obligated to try making his marriage work. Now I must reconstruct my life. Since most of my friends are co-workers, I have no one to confide in about my heartbreak. I lack the financial means to either resolve my problems at home or relocate to another country alone. Reconciling with my husband feels wrong and no longer interests me. Although I will see Clint again in a few weeks at another event where we will likely spend hours alone together, he intends to remain faithful to his wife. We never experienced the passionate physical connection we had discussed. Story 15. Today, I effed up reading a manuscript my ex-GF wrote. A few days ago, I, a 28-year-old male, received an email from my ex-girlfriend with the subject line, "I did it thanks to you." The email contained an attachment which turned out to be her autobiography manuscript. The title immediately transported me back to our dating days. During our relationship, I was sexually inexperienced, while my ex-girlfriend had extensive sexual experience. We often discussed past relationships and intimate encounters, which was never an issue between us. It was always casual conversation. Since she had many entertaining stories to share, I remember jokingly suggesting she should write a book someday. We laughed about it, made love, and several months later, our relationship ended. Though it was sad, life moved on. Now in the present, I have just finished reading her manuscript. The book contained 72 chapters, with each chapter dedicated to someone she had been intimate with. She used character labels instead of real names, such as the surfer, the biker, the jock, and the older man. I recognized some stories and characters from what she had shared during our relationship, while others were new to me. The manuscript was entertaining until I reached chapter 39, my chapter, titled The Turtle. Throughout the manuscript, each sexual partner had something unique that made them memorable to her. The surfer always carried an ocean scent that aroused her, while the biker had full-body gang tattoos, but it was his pet hamster tattoo that excited her most. Then there was me, someone who couldn't swim, had no tattoos, and possessed minimal sexual experience at the time. I wondered what made me memorable. According to my chapter, it was my adorably small penis that stood out. My ex-girlfriend wrote about how she had almost forgotten what it felt like not to choke during oral sex before meeting me. She likened my penis to a baby turtle's head, which inspired my chapter title and character name. Based on her writing, I not only had the smallest penis of all her partners, but also the only one that appeared too innocent for sex. While it didn't seem like my ex-girlfriend was intentionally trying to insult me, penis size is a sensitive topic for any man who isn't exceptionally well endowed. I still need to respond to her with feedback, but I need time to process what I read. It is not a common experience to have someone write a book about your small penis. These insecurities I thought I had outgrown have now resurfaced.